Minutes. We'll just have some small talk because it'll take some people some time to get on. So what's up, everybody? Welcome to Contractor Fight live stream here on, what the heck's the date? The 28th. It is the 28th of July. Can you believe that, James? Can you hear me? Do you hear me? We were just talking.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
I hear you.
Yeah. It just stopped for a second. I don't know.
Oh, that was weird. Yeah. We were talking before we went. I hit the live button. We couldn't hear each other. So do you still hear me?
Yeah.
I okay, good. All right. Cause you went like this, like you couldn't hear me again. So
yeah, no, I was
like,
just like,
oh no.
Yeah.
Anyway,
no, I got you. I actually think that somebody called in and it disturbed the signal, but if I put it on airplane mode, then it cuts us off. So
it's all good, man. It's all good. We'll make this work. You know, we're a couple non-professional audio video guys. So
that's
there
right.
You go. Because we're just here. We're not here to impress everybody with our video and audio skills. We're here to give some value, how they can change the game in their life and business. Charlie Rice, what's going on? Good to see you. Bullfrog Welding, I see that you're on here. You are watching, I believe, via YouTube. Yeah, looks like. So let's see, guys. We're on LinkedIn. We're on YouTube. We're on two different places on Facebook. James, where are you right now?
I am sitting in a hotel room in Denver, Colorado. Arrived last night about midnight.
You are about an hour north of me right now, which is weird because it would have been cool if we could have pulled this off in the same room.
It would have.
But we didn't plan it that far in advance. So anyway, because just yesterday I said, hey, you want to do this thing? And you were like, sure. So anyway, Charlie says I look like flight control. Callie Stone, what's going on? Facebook user, Southern Nevada Masonry, what's going on in Vegas? Guys, you got to give Facebook like permission to put your name on here. James, did you freeze on me again?
No, I still got you.
I can hear you, but you're totally frozen. It's funny.
On my end, I'm not, but
right.
I don't have very good signal in the hotel, so
that's all right, man. We'll make it work. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut off all my other Wi-Fi devices here. So, guys, we're going to talk a little bit about. Let's see, where's this one? Let me shut this off. There, I'm on airplane on everything but my computer, so it should be better, at least on mine. But as long as I can hear you, we're good. And as long as other people can see you, we're good.
Right.
Can you guys see James? Just curious. Like, is he frozen? Is he moving? Sal, what's up? Says, Tom, my man, pour out that wisdom to be a little every penalty shop that will. It's a family thing so far, doing well, applying your sales advice. Awesome, man. Glad you're here. Appreciate you being here. Loud and clear from Gainesville, says Jeremy Hine. So what's up, man? This is so weird, James, because I truly don't.
Am I still frozen on your side?
Totally frozen. Yeah, and Charlie says it's audio only for you, so which is weird.
So let me.
Yeah.
That work?
Now you're still frozen.
Now you're frozen.
So now I'm frozen. Yeah. Now we're all frozen. There we go. So guys, James is in Denver. He's there doing an event that he's got going on, and he was gracious enough to give us some time here today and hang out with us. You know, and sometimes we do this shit. You're not in your normal location. I know when I travel, I'm in hotels. It's a constant Wi-Fi battle. So James, I appreciate you making this happen and trying to work it out, man.
Yeah. So we might still just be, I don't know.
Yeah. Guys, we might just be frozen. And if we're frozen, I'm sorry, but we're going to talk. Doesn't matter because it's what we say that matters more than what you're going to see, because we don't have any visuals for the screen or anything like that. So, James, I'm going to dig in because I know you got places to be and I got stuff to do and other people here are on. I don't want to keep them from getting out and making the money and all that stuff. So give me a 30-second, give the people who don't know who James Miller is a 30,000 foot view. Who you are.
So I'm based out of Northwest Arkansas. I live, within about 15 miles of Walmart World headquarters. Been in the construction industry since 1991. Started getting serious about it back in 2011, between 2011 and 2014, and have a company called Valiant Home Editions. We have in top 4% of small businesses in the U.S. where we do north of $1 million a year in business. I've had some pretty major struggles in business, and have learned how to overcome pretty much almost all of them. Still have some things to, get 100% right, but working on it actively. Just hired a bookkeeper to get all my systems talking for like $2,500 a month, and, do the right things. Have employees, not subs, all the right things.
Yeah, you've made quite the improvements in your business in the last couple of years, man, and that's really kind of what I wanted to talk about a little bit today. Excuse me. You've had mountains of debt. You've had issues with, the real estate between your ears, like so many of us have had. And I want to kind of go back because, and guys, we did a live last night. I did a live with Micah Miller, and this is James Miller, no relation.
True.
Excuse me. I'm got like frogs in my throat today. Hold on. Let me clear my throat. There, I muted just so I could clear my throat. So Facebook user here just said, and I don't know who it is, because guys, you got to put your name in on Facebook. It asks you like your name or whatever. It says, I remember the James from 2019, not even the same guy anymore. We're going to get into that in a minute. But guys, like I said last night on the live with Micah, I am unapologetically my own biggest fan. I believe, and you should be too. I told everybody last night on the live to imitate me in this area, that when you have a product, a service, an experience, something that adds value to people, changes their lives, makes their lives better, easier, less complicated, whatever, you got to be your own biggest fan and tell people, like, have the attitude.
Now you're frozen on me, Tom.
Oh, great.
There we go.
That you're a moron if you don't hire my company, if you don't work with my company. And so my goal here today is twofold, you guys. Number one, it's to inspire you to go to the Contractor Fight event in Denver called Mile High Profit Summit coming up this fall. And the link is right there on the screen. You'll see it there. Just copy that or go to thecontractorfight.com and come hang out with us, because James is going to be on stage. And the other part I want to give you, even if you don't go to the event, I want to give you some value here from James, because James is going to be on a panel discussion up there in Denver where he's going to be talking about and sharing about the choice to become profitable. And guys, this is the choice I believe every business owner needs to make if you want to have the wins in your life. So James, take us back, because your journey, somehow you found the fight, then you ended up, hanging around our Contractor Sales Academy and all this other stuff, which is one of our programs. But you ended up, I believe, kind of the first step with you was getting to an event. Did I get that right?
Yeah, I mean, I was in the CSA and the Contractor Fight for about 9 months and doing nothing about it, and basically had an opportunity to do the Nash Vegas event in December of 19, and it scared the crap out of me, Tom. Like, it literally scared the crap out of me, and all the head trash around why I couldn't do it popped in, and I decided to face my fears and buy the ticket. And I'm glad that I did, because it changed my life. It changed my business.
So what were you afraid of about the event?
In moments, like every bad thing, it's in December. I can't afford it. I can't spend that much. I can't spend it on the hotel. What if I don't, I can't leave work for that long. I mean, that's not even a tenth of the fears that went through my head about it.
Mm-hmm.
I was working with another coach / counselor trying to, get James better. And we were kind of at the point where he's like, look, you got to face your fears. And so literally the moment I recognized, had an awareness around, okay, this is the fears that I've got. Literally that moment I clicked the buy button before I could even think about it.
before you talked yourself out of it, basically.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I have similar stories that I won't get into here because I've told them before. But yeah, I had a life-changing event where it made no sense on paper for me to go, and I
The
found a way
Cabo
to
one,
go.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cabo changed my life, guys. We're all here because I chose to go to an event. Is really the gist of this, because I don't think I'm having the impact in the world and all that I'm having if I don't go to that event. But anyway. So James, I want to talk a little bit about the choice to be profitable, and we've when people think profit, they usually just think money, right? I get that, especially business owners. But
You froze on me again, Tom.
So when people think profit, they usually think money. There's mental profit, there's emotional profit, there's relationship profit, there's our health profit, there's our financial profit. You've had some pretty big wins in every area of your life. You've been profitable in every area of your life since that day in 2019 that I met you at that event in Nashville. I'm curious, what did that decision look like for you to just go, all right, I'm turning this stuff around in my life. I'm not going to be this guy anymore. When I met you, you had dead eyes. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
Like what was kind of the switch that went off on you that just said, I'm making this decision. I'm doing this.
You did talk about dead eyes, and I wasn't really going to talk about this, but when kind of what popped in my head, there was a small thing that happened in that live event that I really think you guys as the organizers probably didn't even think of this as a potential impact. But we went to Dave Ramsey's complex, his campus, whatever the heck. And honestly, I had no interest in going. The only reason I went is because it was part of what I had paid to do. Right.
Yeah.
And we sat in a room in the lower level of the building, and big African-American ex-football player, Chris Hogan, got up and talked. He made my voice look like soprano.
I remember that.
Super low voice. And Chris wrote a book called Everyday Millionaires. It was in that room, in that 30-minute discussion with us that, and like I went out on a limb at that meeting and stuff like that. And that's not really what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But that was the first time that I thought, wait a minute, do you mean if I make small changes, I can actually succeed? Because I thought in my head that I had to have this massive score in order to overcome all the deficiencies. And so I was always looking for that big score. And that meant I wasn't paying attention to the small things that made such a difference. Right. And that was the first time that I thought, okay, if I just do some small stuff consistently, then I can win. And then the overarching piece of that was when the decision to become profitable happened, it was sort of a shift in the mentality of this is no longer a game. I'd been playing at it. I'd not been giving it my all. I'd been thinking, well, if this doesn't work out, I can always go swing a hammer again, or, all these other things. And it literally became like a burn the boats moment for me, right? Like go where I'm going, burn the boats. Yesterday on my page, like, you can mock me, you can abuse me, you can, I don't even remember what all it said. It said, but the one thing you cannot do is stop me. And that's really kind of where the mentality for me came in when I made that mental shift to say, I refuse to do this and not be profitable anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know if that clearly answered your question, and you kind of froze on me.
Yeah, no, it's good. I can hear you, and I'm gonna take that a little deeper after I share something here quick with people. Guys, I want to fast forward. We're not going to dig deep into this. James will, for time's sake and stuff, we don't have a lot of time to get into this deep today. But guys, the results that James has had, I mean, dude, from that December of 2019 to like June of 2020, let's just go those 6 months or so. I remember you telling me you paid off damn near $100,000 worth of debt and you already 4x'd your income. This past spring, you and I were in Miami for an event that I spoke at. and you shared at that point, I think, how much weight did you lose? 60 or 80 pounds? What was it?
Around 60 at that point.
Around 60. And how much up until now?
I'm at about 70, 75 now.
All right. So down 70, 75 pounds. He's more than 4x his personal income. You've paid off more than $250,000 worth of debt. I know, I don't know a lot of details, and I don't expect to share them because this is your story, but I gather just from little bits and pieces of conversations that we've had that your relationships at home have gotten better. And I'm not saying anything like they were terrible or anything before. I'm just saying what I'm hearing from you is like you just seem to be a more present spouse and father and things like that.
100%.
Speak to some of that if you want.
You know, Tom, like all those big things you just said about what I've done, pale in comparison to me bringing home a paycheck consistently. And that sounds really goofy, but I spent all these years believing that I had to pour everything into the business and eventually it would pay me. When I made the decision to start paying myself consistently and pay myself, honestly, a percentage of what I'm actually worth, because I don't pay myself what I'm completely worth yet. But I brought home $104,000 last year. That's the first time in history that I've ever made more than like 42 grand a year. And it made everything at home better. You know, even just, you know, my wife and I have been married almost 19 years. So we're talking 17 and a half, 18 years of not knowing whether we were going to get a paycheck or not. And literally living off of my wife and like, hey, we can't do it this time. And when I made the decision to pay myself, it shifted so many things and life just got so much better. And I could not have done that had I not chosen to make sure that my jobs were making money. And you and I shared this with you earlier, like not every project has made money, but enough of them have. There have been some bobbles along the way. I've had some that went over schedule and some that went over budget. And I had a guy go out that, you know, everything in the company revolved around him, made me make some shifts and some changes. But can you imagine what the results would be like if I hadn't have had most of the jobs be profitable? Like,
right.
You know, this whole thing would have already imploded.
Well, I want you to give yourself some credit because you just shared this, so I'll share this. I remember you telling me when you joined our 100K program and you filled this thing out, we were in a conversation. 2019, I think you had done about 1.1 in sales, and you paid yourself 38 grand. Okay.
Yep.
Well, dude, in 2020, you said you made 104, but actually you made another couple hundred on top of that. It's just you chose to pay the debt off because the money was there. Like, I want to be fair. Like, you damn near that was like if let's just pretend for a minute. Now it's the reality. The debt's there, but if the debt ain't there, you paid yourself 300 grand. You had a whatever 10x income shift or 8x or whatever the hell it is within 12 months, simply because you made a decision. Something you said earlier, and guys, if you're watching this and things are freezing and stuff, James is he's in a hotel and shit's unreliable in hotels, and it just is what it is. And so hopefully it's not freezing as much on your end as on mine, and at least you guys can hear him. So I appreciate, James, you carving out some time for this. But
it's freezing,
so guys,
now.
Yeah.
You're back now.
You're back now too. You're actually moving a little.
Cool.
You're blurry for me, but you're moving.
All right.
But you mentioned
you said James is in a hotel, and that's all I heard.
All right. Well, I was just giving you props and thanking you for making time for this. And if it's freezing on people's ends, they know why. You talked about making commitments to the small things. When Chris Hogan was at the Dave Ramsey thing. And dude, you shared about the Dave Ramsey thing. I'm one of the owners of the company. We put this event on. I wasn't even excited to go to Dave Ramsey's. Okay. It wasn't my idea, but here's the funny thing, dude, that being there gave me more vision for the fight and what I do and the impact that I have. So we say this all the time, that when you make a commitment and find a way to get to an event, it's often not the thing that you think it's going to be that's going to impact you. Like it was sitting in a room and Chris Hogan doing this thing at this thing that you didn't even want to go to. and you were just kind of going along, not really excited. And that was the moment. So I'm curious, when you left Nashville that year, what were a couple of the things the small things that you just committed to doing?
Well, because I was part of the Contractor Sales Academy, and that was a Contractor Sales Academy event, I committed to role playing, big piece of the puzzle. I committed to being involved and to maintaining some of those connections that I made, because I went to that event literally knowing no one. And I literally went, Tom, I've told you this, I went to see if the guys that were leading the group, the 5 of you, were full of crap or not. That's literally why I went. And because a glimmer of maybe I could find something that would help me save myself, right? But I committed to pricing jobs at a proper margin. I committed to we set some goals in the Thursday thing with Andy Bailey, and had an accountability partner. And I committed to doing personal training, to connecting with my wife, off the cuff. I can't remember the other thing it was right now because it was over a year ago, but I actually crushed those goals because I think I crushed them in 3 months. Like, I committed to do those things. And you know, like, I sat with you that night and said, or not that night, but one of those nights, I sat with you and said, you know, you intimidate the crap out of me. And you looked at me and went, what? You know, but that was the beginning of our relationship. And so I committed to be profitable. I committed to, you know what, Tom, that's when I committed to start playing the long game. You talk about that as one of the contractor fight ideals. And it's something that I look at now. Like, I'm not looking at tomorrow. I'm looking at 6 months, a year, 3 years, 5 years from now, going, and I even recorded a video. Can you hear me okay? You cut out for a second. I even recorded a video in a couple of the other groups. I had a client call me from a project I did 14 years ago. Not even my client, but had a question about it. And, you know, I got kudos for the level of work. I lost so much money on that job, but the job still looks good. But I just said, you know what, I'm done. I don't even know where I was going with that. That was my squirrel moment.
It's all good, man. I have them all the time.
But I committed to play the long game. And it sounds, I don't even know where to go with that. Because, like earlier I said, it's not a game, and it's both of those, right? Like, it is a game and it's not a game. But here's what I'll say: the game I decided to quit playing was playing with my family's future. That's the game I decided to stop playing.
Dude, that's huge. See, I know so much of your story, and you're going to be on stage at our Mile High Profit Summit going deeper with this. And I know you're going to change a bunch of lives, but what's always struck me about you in a positive way, since you made this decision to live a profitable life, is this is my person. I've never said this to you. You've never said this to me. This is just my take. So
I'd love to hear it.
I think I'm right. I was wrong that one other time, but I think I'm right. You seem to be pretty good at determining in the moment right now who you need to be in order to be the guy you want to be in the future. Whether that's a day, a year, 10 years from now. Like, you have this ability, from my perspective, of just going, who do I need to be right now so I could be that guy in the future? That goes back to you sharing about playing the long game. And I love that, man. I just love it. And here's the other thing I want to say is, I'm hearing, and guys, if you have questions for James, throw them in the box, and we'll get to some of those. You know, like, James, there's somebody here, Pro Grade Painting, just typed in the chat box. God, I just want to break 10K in the bank account for once in my life. LOL. Oof. Right? You ever been there?
I remember feeling that. Heck yeah.
I remember feeling that. And, ProGrade, what I would tell you, and this sounds like it's self-serving, and it is in one way, in the sense that I think you should be at our event. Okay. So whether it's our event, I said this last night with Micah, I've said this on every live I've done and whatever, and I've said this for a long time. And James did exactly what I'm about to share. Whether it's getting to this event, whether it's hiring a coach, whether it's someone on my team or not, I don't care. Whether it's losing weight, restoring your relationship with your spouse, or strengthening it, or whatever it is, guys, it always starts with a commitment. Okay. And that's the choice that James and I are talking about. There's the choice to be profitable in every area of my life. The choice that James says, I'm going to make money. I'm going to price my jobs. Guys, and James, I'll let you elaborate on this, but here's my take. When you commit to something, yeah, Micah just says, I know that feeling. How about the 10K in the bank? Guys, when you commit, you've checked the box of making the commitment. You're no longer fighting that battle of should I do this, should I not do this? James, you shared, I didn't know how I was going to pay to get to the hotel. I didn't know if I was going to waste a lot of money. I didn't know where I was going to find the money, but you committed to going to Nash Vegas in 2019 in December. And once that commitment was made, other solutions start to pop up. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Share a little bit of that to somebody who's just like, yeah, I've heard about this event in Denver coming up, but I don't know if I can get away from my team. I don't know if I can afford it. I don't know, blah, blah, blah. What do you tell that person?
Well, Tom, the biggest thing I can tell you is how I approached it. And that was, like I said, 30 seconds after, not even 30 seconds, I hit buy. I literally called my wife. I didn't ask permission. I said, hey, I'm going to Nashville in December. It's these dates. And she went, okay. Like, what else could she say, right? And of course, as it, I shared with her more about what that was. But yeah, things started to happen, and I want to share this too because it's in my head. It doesn't mean that once you make that decision, all opposition doesn't go away. Do things fall in alignment? Absolutely. But I came back from that event expecting to have $10,000 in the bank. And instead I had a negative $20,000 in the bank. No joke. Like literally coming back from that event, and I'm on this high, and then I'm like, oh crap, what now? Like, I mean, it was, and so, but then within moments, things started to, within a day or two, things shifted and I was fine. I'll put it to you this way, Tom, and this is not what maybe some people would say. I can only say it because it's my experience. Knowing what that live event has meant to my life, I would do it all over again, and I would hesitate even less. And I mean, I was $500,000 in debt. At that moment, it was literally like, what's a little more? But that was a very fatalistic, non-hopeful approach. If I were sitting there and going, I kind of have a little money, I kind of don't, I would put it on a credit card. I kid you not. I would beg, borrow, steal. Okay, I wouldn't steal. I would beg, I would borrow. I would get there because I now know I could not afford to not be there. But once you commit to something and you say, this is going to happen, the universe will align to make that happen for you. I was on the phone yesterday with Hunter Brock, who I met at our event in April. And he said, I've made the commitment and things are starting to shift for him, and he's going. Like, he's buying his ticket this week before the early bird pricing goes away. And he was talking to me about, this job came in and I got this random call from somebody that I did work for 3 years ago. And they're like, hey, I got this job for you. Like, things start to fall in alignment when you decide you're going to do something.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many examples in my life I could share about once I made a commitment for something. And, it's funny, we referenced my Cabo event when we started this thing earlier, referenced the Cabo event. I had made an excuse to not go for the previous 2 or 3 years. You know, I lied to myself. I lied to the people who invited me. I said I was busy. I was this. Guys, man, I had so much head trash. I was struggling with money. There was all this other you know, crazy bullshit I was telling myself when all I needed to do was commit to getting there. And dude, once I got there, and it was the last day of the event, wasn't even one of the sessions that I was part of. I was a panelist and all this other stuff they invited me to be on. And dude, I'll tell you what, it was that last hour of the last day of the week of the event in a thing that wasn't even part of the event that changed my life forever. And I can't imagine where I'd be if I would have waited another year. You know, when something's right, there's no better time than right now to do it. That's the way I look at things now.
Yeah. And so I can say definitively, Tom, that had I not attended that event in 2019, I wouldn't be where I am either. I mean, in January of 20, I came in, like we're talking a month later, I came within 2 days of losing everything, my house, my wife, I thought, my business, the whole thing. But because I went to that event, my mentality had shifted and I made it come together. And here we are today. And you and I hadn't talked about this. And so I have permission to just say something. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yep, so I'm at an event. The reason I'm in Denver right now is I'm at a different event, not at all affiliated with you or anything else. It's affiliated with this thing in my head, right? The real estate between my ears.
Yep.
Hunter and I were talking yesterday, like spouse ticket, everything else, hotel, whatever else he's doing. He's going to spend about $3,500 to get here for the Mile High Profit Summit. I've invested a little over $6,000 for the 2 days I'm here for this event.
Yep.
Your event is not expensive as far as I'm concerned. The fact that you can buy a ticket for $1,300 and get your spouse there for less than $2,000 for the two of you. I haven't shared this with you. You and I haven't had this conversation. It's cheap, Tom.
Yep. Well, listen, we have some generous sponsors. James, when I do an event, my goal is to roll the red carpet, but also find a way to make it work for people, right? Like it's
absolutely.
And this is not, I want to be very clear because I'm the guy pounding charge your worth. I'm charging my worth, guys. Trust me. I'm just getting other people to help me pay for it. Okay. Because there's always a fucking way, because it's more important for me to get people in the room and change their lives, because I'm playing the long game. All right. I'm not about a quick transaction. If I wanted a big quick transaction and all this other shit, tickets would be $300.
That's why there's a sign behind your back that I sent you.
Yes. Right here. Boom.
Yeah.
You have changed the world because you have touched our lives. Guys, that's what I want to do. And that's why it's hanging there, James. Appreciate that. But guys, James has said so many things here that I want to talk about. One of the things you just said, and you said it on accident. You said, and I'm going to paraphrase all but 2 words. You said, I did. You were talking about all these changes I made. And dude, that was so cool for me to hear, because you're damn right. You did that.
Yeah.
You did it. And you shared a second ago about how you were 2 days away from losing it all. You thought you were going to lose your marriage and all this other stuff, and your house, literally his house, blah, blah, blah. I'm curious, what would your wife say? How would she describe the 2019 James versus the 2021 James today?
Tom, it's not, I mean, these are discussions we've had. I talked to her this morning, and not about this specifically, but I am just not the same person. I mean, I look basically the same except I shaved the mustache.
You're also,
I look basically the same.
You're 75 pounds lighter too. So
I have. Can you hear me, or did you cut out?
I hear you, but I said you're also 75 pounds lighter.
Also that, yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not the same person. Like, it's so hard to describe, but I have done so many things. I've invested so much money, and I've been so intentional after that event, because it gave me hope, I've been so intentional about becoming the best me that, I've literally invested over $70,000 in personal growth. That would count towards personal income too, right?
Yep.
And I did it because being in that room with, what was it, 50 people or whatever it was, changed the trajectory of my life. And it wasn't just being in that room, right? It had to be a decision that I made. It had to be something that I chose to act upon. But if you and the other drivers of the CSA had not created that event, what would have been the catalyst for me? I don't know. Even the event in Miami that you mentioned earlier, and then the one in Destin a month later, like, I'm kind of at the point where it's going to have to be a significant life event for me to miss any live event going forward. It really, truly is.
Yeah,
it is.
I'm going to hit some of the chat here, guys, if you have a question. But Dan Sherwood says, he was talking about Nashville. He says, you committed to maximizing that time in Nashville. My memory is you speaking to as many people as possible to mine for nuggets. Then you acted on that info. And I want to piggyback that with another comment somebody else made here, James. He says, James is a great example of what happens when you put your mind to it. And the reason I'm reading those together, hopefully you still hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. I read those together because it takes both. Micah and I talked about this last night on the live, where if you think big, if you just get your mind right, but you're not taking the action, total problem, right? Because you're just thinking, you're not acting. And that's sadly what most people do. Most people put their mind to it, but they don't take that next step and actually implement. And we've already talked about that. You came home, you hit the ground running, you started implementing the things you were learning. The other side is that some people, they just work really, really hard. They just implement what they think they need to do, but they don't have the belief system. And the reason that you've had so much massive results is because you have you've married those two together with massive commitment on both sides. You're like, I'm going to unfuck my brain and I'm going to put in the work. And it was that simple. And you did it consistently. It was those small things that you talked about earlier. So Catroni just says, man, that man was a sponge. Yeah, he still is. And so here's a question for you, James. Dan Hill asks.
You froze on me again. I want to know what Catroni said.
He said you're really sexy in a half shirt.
It'll come back in a second.
So yeah, there you go. I don't think he heard me. So guys, James is in a hotel if you're just joining us.
I can hear you again now.
All right. Catroni says you look great in a half shirt. So no, I'm kidding. He said you were a sponge.
I was. And part of what Dan said about mining nuggets, for me at the moment, it wasn't about mining nuggets. It ended up being that, but it was literally about, I went to that event and I said, I'm going to introduce myself to everyone in the room because I'm tired of hiding in the shadows. I'm tired of not stepping into, and honestly, part of it was I didn't know anybody. So why would I care what they think of me?
Right. I love that. All right. Here's a question for you. Ready?
Yep.
Dan Hill asked, James said things shifted when he came back. What did he change that helped make that shift? Was it a mental thing, daily routine, or something else?
The truth is it was a combination, but it started with the mental shift. It started with a decision. It started with a decision to go, I'm going to change this. And then I changed some daily routine things too. I do want to share this real quick, and it's a little bit of a squirrel moment, but when I was talking with Hunter yesterday, I told him, I said, I was really thrilled for him that he had made that decision, because for me, I got myself to a point of desperation, and it was literally like a Hail Mary for me to go to that event, right? Thank God it was a Hail Mary that worked, but it was a Hail Mary. And I told Hunter yesterday, I said, I can't tell you how glad I am that you didn't let yourself get as far down as I got before you made that decision. And that, I think, is if I could say it to all the people listening or going to watch this later, it would be, don't let yourself get desperate before you decide to make a change that's going to impact you positively forever. I don't know if so that was a little bit of a squirrel moment. Did I answer so first thing was a mental shift. That was downhill, right?
Yep.
First thing was a mental shift. And then I committed at that point to do what successful people said they do, right? And so I am not a morning person, but I started getting up at 5:30 every day. I started filling out the printed off, the free resource in the Contractor Fight for the daily planner. I forget exactly what you called it. I started filling that out. I still have a stack of them. I started reading. I started getting in my office a couple hours early to prepare for the day. And started showing up as a leader instead of, sort of hanging my head and what do we do? I literally went to my team and I said, I don't know what it's going to take, but I'm going to fix this. And, a year later, several of them have come to me and said, no, it's more than that. But I'll never forget, Glenn has been with me for several years. And he came to me about a year later and he says, hey, man, I just want you to know, like when you said, I'm going to fix it, but I don't know how, he says, I kind of didn't believe you, but I've seen it. And I just want to say thank you. Like that was really gratifying.
That's pretty sweet, dude. That is awesome. I have one more question for you. And then if there's any other questions, you guys go ahead and type them in the box. We're going to wrap this up in a couple minutes. And I know it's an odd time to do a live. It's, the morning here where I am or where we are, James, and stuff. And it's midday on the East Coast, whatever. So if you have questions, type them in. So I guess my question for you, James, is what are you what continues to drive you? Like you've made some really crazy changes, and this is where I think a lot of people, they kind of tap out, they get satisfied. Hey, I lost 75 pounds. I've, freaking damn near 8 or 9x my income over the last couple of years. When you factor everything in, I've paid off over $250,000 of debt. Gotten stronger at home, relationships, all this other stuff. Like why not just go, hey, I'm good. I've arrived.
So at that event in Miami, I got an opportunity to see Ed Milet speak. And I really didn't know anything about him, but I got to see him speak. And now I listen to some of his podcasts and stuff and follow the guy. But he said one thing in that event, 2 words, Tom. He said 2 words in that event that I think define the answer to that. He said the phrase blissful dissatisfaction.
Yeah.
So like I am thrilled with where I am. And yet at the same time, I know it's not where I will end up. I know that there's more. And really what drives me, that was your question, what drives me is the quest to be my best self, whatever that looks like. And so much of this started with realizing, like knowing to the core of my being that I had it in me to do this and going, okay, James, get the F out of your own way. And that started with finding that glimmer of hope and getting that light back in my eyes because I committed to going to that event in December of 19.
Yeah, that phrase blissful dissatisfaction is always stuck with me because I'm not satisfied. I'm grateful, right? I'm grateful. I'm blessed. I've worked my tail off. But I also know there's a lot more in the tank. And that's one of the things that drives me, dude, is I don't want to get on the other end of a period of time or at the end of my life. Or you got me now? How about now?
There you're back.
All right. So I don't want to get to the end of a period of time or my life or whatever it is and look back and go, I had more in the tank, and I don't just mean work. don't mean just work ethic. I just mean the way I think and believe and give and help and add value and think bigger, which we talked about with Micah last night. So anyway, man, I'm super fired up to have you on stage with me come September in Denver. What do you tell somebody who's on the fence right now, man?
I would say if you even have an inkling of an ounce of faith in yourself that you can succeed, but you're not sure how, commit and go. Find the spark.
There you go. Well, I love it. Well, dude, I appreciate you carving out the time for this. I know we pulled this together yesterday, decided to do this morning. It was like your only window of time. I'm super grateful. Guys, type in the box. Thanks to James. Please thank him because he's made this happen for us today. I appreciate you guys sticking with us with some of the audio and visual stuff. It's just life, man. It's technology, it's circumstances, and we just got to battle through them. So we got some thank yous rolling in. Nicholas Rogers says, thanks. My business is better in every aspect because of your work. Hope to meet you at an event someday, traveling with the family over this next one. Awesome, man. Enjoy the family, Nicholas, Jared. Thank you. Jake, Lance, everybody's saying thanks, man. So James, dude, awesome. I super appreciate you, brother. I know you're just getting started. That's a cool thing, man. You're only 2 years into this shit.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's that whole that overnight success that took 30 years. That's where I'm at, but I'm okay with it. That's my journey.
Absolutely. Well, James, thanks again, man. I'm gonna sign us off here, guys.
My pleasure, Tom. Thank you.
If you jumped on here late, go back and watch from the beginning. James shares some really incredibly stuff, as Tim Catroni said here. James, I don't know if you saw this comment. He says the biggest piece of gold for him here was when you said the further you're down, the longer the climb. So don't wait. Right. So no matter where you are,
yes.
Like, yeah, like
you're an example of what not to do until you get to the part where you start to succeed.
That's right, man. Oh man, we got to put that on a shirt or something. That's like,
right?
That, yeah, something like that. Anyway, brother, I appreciate you. Guys, hit the link on the screen there, thecontractorfight.com/summit, and just check out what we got going on. And we got things for the spouses tickets are half price. We have another panel with married couples who are crushing it, and they're going to share their stories. You know, people like James and Micah are going to be on a panel about the choice to be profitable and how, you know, they're going to go deeper into some of the things we've talked about here on these lives. We've got everything that's happening over these 3 days in Denver is designed to help you have a more profitable life in every aspect: your health, your mental well-being, your finances, your relationships, everything. Guys, you got to be there. All right. You never know when that damn nugget is going to pop you in the mouth and wake you up and be the thing that just gets you to that next level, whatever that might be for you in your life. All right. And let me say this also: you don't have to be $500,000 in debt, in the gutter, and all that other stuff to come to this event and get value. Guys, you could be winning right now. You could have millions in the bank. You could have a good marriage. You could have a good health and all this other stuff. But I'm telling you, there's always a next level. All right. So get in the room. Super appreciate everybody hanging out with us here today. And we will talk to you guys next time. Thanks again, James.
My pleasure.
All right, buddy.
See ya.